Peace, fam. I'm your brother in the struggle, brother minister Alifullah. And today we're going to decipher worship of the Annunaki. Now, the people of the so-called Annunaki, and I say so-called because actually they're not even the Annunaki, it's really the Annunnaku. And their cultures get intertwined and mixed, you know what I mean? And, you know, the black people of ancient Sumer, or the Sumerians, you know, they had back then, the best way to describe in this modern day and time would be nation states. Something similar to like the Greeks, early Greece and the Roman empires. They basically had nation states, and their borders could fluctuate. They have conflicts and take over other territories, so the kingdoms expand. So when you look at Egypt, you say, well, what Egypt? You know what I mean? Because there are countless Egyptian maps, you know what I mean, depending when they gain territory, lose territory, you know, Pharaoh's born, a Pharaoh dies, what have you know what I mean? So it's a lot of mathematics that came into that. Like if you was to look at America in the 1700s and then look at America after Louisiana's purchase, thanks to the gods of Haiti, you know what I mean, you would look at it differently. So that's the type of political intrigue that was taking place all over the planet Earth. Now, one of the things about the Annunnaku, or the Anunnaki as many refer to them, is that they were worshipped, and organized religions in this day and time still use that concept, the worship of God. The worship of God back in biblical times, or say 4,000 years ago, according to the Hebrew or the Aramaic, was basically a voodoo. A Buddha and a Buddha basically means worship. In Islam, in the Arabic, we call it ibadah. Ibadah and avuda both means worship. What do we call worship in this day and time? Worship means to work for. When you worship God, you work for God. When you worship America, you would be an employee or the proletariat or worker for America. When you worship Google and Meta and IBM and Tesla, you work for those corporations. You work for those powerful pantheon of gods. Yes, when you work for Trump Towers, you working for an evil god. I mean, that's how the people thousands of years in the future make mistranslations. They be like, okay, they really mean a powerful man. They really mean a powerful woman. They really mean not a magical demon, but just a greedy imperialist. Now I mean, they really mean a dictator. Now I mean, so they use terms like Satan and devil and gods and angels and demons, but they didn't mean anything spooky. Likewise, when they talk about someone being from another world, they be like, Jay-Z, when he was in Marcy Projects, he was Jay-Z. But Jay-Z, the businessman, he's a business. He's on another plateau. He's from another world. He came from hell. He's in heaven now. Not in a magical, spooky sense, but in a political, cultural, social and economical sense. Now I mean, so this is what they really talking about. So don't get spooky when you read this stuff about the Anunnaki. In fact, stop calling them the Anunnaki. Call them by their proper name. We ain't even gonna say that proper, because that's not even their proper name. But that pantheon of gods is the Annunnaku. If you're gonna put them together. But like I said, real plain and simple, Annuna just simply means God. And the feminine suffix added on to Annunaki, the Naki. Look it up yourself. Naki, all over Africa, all over Asia, means goddess. Anu, all over Africa, means God. This elementary. Just look it up let's look it up in your phone on the dictionary. What do Anu mean? The name Anu. Anu means God. Specifically, it means black God. Okay, if Anu means God, what do the name Naki, N-A-K-I, mean? Just look up to be like meaning of Naki. Phone, what do the meaning of Naki mean? Your phone be like, Naki means goddess, specifically the black goddess. So what is we talking about the Annunaki? We're talking about the black gods and the black gods. We're talking about the tribe of Shabazz. We're talking about the FOI and the MGT. We're talking about the 5%, the poor righteous teachers who do not believe in the teachers of the 10%. Keep telling y'all this. Only the messenger's message is going to guide you through this age of mess. Peace, family. The struggle continues. Peace, peace. Salam Allah. Peace to the gods and goddesses. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom. Hotep. Peace on the streets. I'm your brother in the struggle, brother minister Alifullah. And today we're going to continue in part number 6 of the Annunaki. Now, today, family, we're going to give you some ancient sciences. All my videos are for adults, but I don't want to seem disrespectful or anything of that nature there. You know, I'm always a respectful brother in the struggle. But, you know, when it comes to sciences, a lot of people are not aware of certain sciences. And Messenger Elijah Muhammad teaches us in the Theology of Time that, quote, I just want to teach you the science. And Master Muhammad taught the messenger in Lost Found Master lesson number 2 that our duty as 5%ers, poor righteous teachers, is to teach the sciences of life. So when it comes to the sciences, you know, when you're dealing with the 85%, the mentally deads, we have been so programmed that when we really hear the reality of how the universe actually operates, is so contrary to the Eurocentric mythology that we were spoon-fed for the past 6,000 years. But when you think about it and understand it, it elevates you and makes you think deeper and look at things from a deeper and a more godly or goddess perspective. So today we're going to look at the Annunaki, not in the context of just the Annunaki. I want you to look at that period, if you will, that time in history. There's a lot of spooky stuff out there. Now, I mean, short version, when it comes to the science of the Annunaki, we're talking, say, around 5,000 years ago, the Anunnaki is supposed to be on this planet, all right? Now, when the Anunnaki is on this planet, keep in mind, before the Anunnaki is on this planet, we have people in Africa already that's advanced and building high civilizations, all right? I'm not talking about the Great Pyramid. I'm talking about the smaller pyramids, the step pyramids and things of that nature there. You know what I mean? The mastaba, whatever you want to call it. I'm talking ancient Nubia, or in the ancient Sudan, ancient Azania, so-called South Africa today. We had scientists in South Africa that were using metals. They were known as the black or the gods. I mean, the blacksmiths, as we know them this day and time. Blacksmiths deal with extracting metals out of the earth. The science of alchemy or chemistry, as they like to say. Now, I mean, Kemetic sciences, black sciences. Now, I mean, we did not allow people outside the cipher to learn what we taught in the cipher. It's like, as time goes on, we always lose control over the cipher. Like, say, when Master Muhammad first began teaching in the wilderness of North America, the Nation of Islam lessons originally were for registered Muslims only. But they're everywhere now. They all on the internet now. I mean, you know, it's like you can find all kind of Masonic teachings in this day and time. They're in books, videos, whatever the case may be. Now, I mean, so as Benjamin Franklin once said, 3 can keep a secret, if two are dead. I mean, so we're going to take you into some esoterical sciences of life. You know what I mean? Yakub, the one that the messenger taught us about grafting the devil. All right. I want to take you into the Bible and show you Yakub and show you that Yakub is not something made up by Messenger Elijah Muhammad. I mean, there's no historical evidence of no Yakub grafting the devil. Yes, it is, family. In antiquity, people, like one of the things you got to keep in mind is when it came to the Europeans, all of the European so-called nations were nation states. They were colonized by the Europeans as we know them in this day and time. You know what I mean? But all of them really came from spooky gods. You know what I mean? Hellenistic periods. They Rome and Romulus. Like when you look at like where the Romans come from, you find that they always take you back into something spooky because they have no origin. Because originally it was only black people on the face of the planet Earth. And when we lost our land, that's when it became like, say, I'm gonna give you something that you're familiar with. Say, North America. We know that North America is now known as the most powerful, greatest nation on the planet Earth. However, originally, North America was inhabited by black people, by Native American Indians. And the Europeans came over here and just crushed and destroyed our civilizations and rewrote history and made it like Christopher Columbus discovered the wilderness of North America. All right. So that's what they did literally all over the planet Earth. And that's what they did all over Europe for that matter. You know what I mean? But we just chose the best part as our lessons teach us. You know what I mean? For us to live on. So in the Bible, the book of Genesis or the book of genes is genetics. It teaches us about Yakub. But Yakub in English is known as Jacob. The Y becomes a J, like Yahweh becomes Jehovah. Now I mean, Yahshua becomes Jesus. Yahya becomes John. Okay, the Y, the J is a new invention of Eurocentric. Now I mean, like they invented vowels A-E-I-O-U, sometimes Y. The Arabs did the same thing. I mean, the Kasher, the Duma, the Shah, the Ma, they added those vowels in your Quran. Your Quran is not the original Holy Quran. The Quran has been tampered with. What? Yeah. The Message to the Black Man in America in 1965. You read your Message to the Black Man. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us, FOI the Holy Quran is not holy. The Bible is not holy. None of this stuff, you take this stuff literally, you be spooked out your mind. I mean, because you had 1,400, 2,000, 4,000 years of tampering with the scriptures or the word of God. Now, I mean, the word of the black man, the word of the original man, the Asiatic black man, the maker on the cream planet Earth. But you can call the truth if you have in your brain. The messenger teaches us like this. Master Muhammad didn't take him through the Bible word for word and be like, okay, Genesis chapter 1 means this. Leviticus chapter 9 means this. Revelation chapter 8. No, he's like, no, he just gave him knowledge itself. When you dealing with reality, now you're looking at scriptures like, we know in reality, snakes don't talk. Human beings don't walk on water unless they on water skis or something. I mean, we know it's nothing spooky in the Quran or the Bible, okay? So it gives you a clearer understanding. It gives you a foundation. Your foundation is haqq, or reality. You're building on a base that deals with mathematics. Now I mean, so it's nothing spooky to you. So I want you to take and look at how Jacob in Genesis chapter 30, who is going to deal with someone known as Laban. Laban means white. But Jacob, Yakub, Genesis, genes is. Jacob is going to graft the animals. I mean, he's going to graft the animals in the Bible exactly like Yakub grafted human beings on the island of Pelan or Patmos, the 25 miles in circumference island out there in the Aegean Sea. I mean, so when you read about the Anunnaki, you got to understand the Anunnaki as gods that have flying vehicles. When the Anunnaki, before the Anunnaki was born, we had gods already on earth. We had gods on earth already talking about flying vehicles. Way before the Anunnaki was a thought. Way before Babylonia, ancient Iraq. Way before Mesopotamia, Samaria, Akkad, all those different little areas. It's like they wasn't nations. They was more like what we call nation states. Now, I mean, like all these different clusters of different people. Each cluster had their own gods and goddesses, their own pantheon of gods. Now, I mean, and you know, if you was to take and go back in the time of the Anunnaki, as they say, and you was like Inky, there's some people over there in India. The people in India look at Inky and I'm like, man, that ain't nobody. That's corny. I mean, the people in ancient India be like, we had UFOs flying to other planets way before they even founded the Euphrates and the Tigris River. Man, we've been doing that. We've been gods and goddesses. We've been had black gods and goddesses all over the planet Earth. Not just in that area of Iraq, but ancient Persia, Iran, ancient Kemet, Black Egypt, Nubia, the Sudan, Kush, Ethiopia, Azania, South Africa, West Africa, as we call it, North America, Central America. We were all over the planet Earth way before the Anunnaki was even a thought, and before they even wrote anything. White folks, I mean, now the good thing is, I want you to understand that it gives credence to Messenger Elijah Muhammad's teachings that we're Asiatics. See, a lot of people think that black people started in Africa and they missing the whole point. It's like, no, I mean, you can't trace black people. I mean, they'd be like, oh, they found Lucy scientifically. Let's put it like this. If I was to bring Lucy back in the year 2023 and had her standing next to me, you would look at Lucy and be like, she is not a human being. See what I'm saying? So this is how people get confused, because they're following the devil's tricknology. You know what I mean? Let us take and look at this here in the book of Genesis. All right, I want you to turn those that have Bibles. It's called Jacob's Flocks Increase. All right, now this is how Jacob gonna make some money. I mean, he's gonna build some paper. Now, I mean, now I'm gonna read to you. Let's start at verse 31 to. Let's go down to verse 36. All right. Jacob says, "What shall I give you?" He asked. "Don't give me anything," Jacob replied. Jacob is Yaqub. Now look what Jacob or Yaqub is going to do here. Genesis chapter 30, verse 31. "But if you will do this one thing for me, I will go on tending your flocks and watching over them. Let me go through all your flocks today and remove from them." Now there's a separation here from Jacob. And remove, Jacob's great moves, he's removed from them every speckled and spotted sheep, every dark or black colored lamb, and every spotted or speckled goat. Now, in the human spectrum, we talk black, brown, yellow, and red. Here's Jacob saying, listen, let me take all these black, brown, yellow, and red animals out of your flock. All right. What did you great do, Jacob? He's great graph something. All right. He said, quote, "Let me go through all your flocks today, remove from them every speckled or spotted sheep, For those of you, just in case, this is Genesis chapter 30, all right? Let me go through all your flocks today and remove from them every speckled or spotted sheep, every dark-colored lamb, and every spotted or speckled goat. They will be my wages. Now, the blacks is the money. The dark animals, Jacob is saying, all right, this is how I'll get paid off these dark. This is the dominant gene here. And my honesty will testify for me in the future. Whenever you check on the wages you have paid me, any goat in my possession that is not speckled or spotted, or any lamb that is not, quote, dark colored or black, will be considered stolen. All right. Agreed, said Laban. Laban means white. Jacob is Yaakov talking to Laban, white. Let it be as you have said. That same day he removed all the male goats that were streaked or spotted, and all the speckled or spotted female goats, all that had white on them. Now, Jacob is separating the black from the white, the dark from the light. He's using cattle and sheep, and you know what I mean? He's using animals in this allegorical biblical narrative here. All right. He says, quote, that same day he removed all the male goats that were streaked or spotted, and all the speckled or spotted female goats, all that had white on them, and all the dark colored lambs. And he placed them in the care of his sons. Then he put a 3-day journey between himself and Jacob, while Jacob continued to tend the rest of Laban's flock. Verse 37. Jacob, however, took fresh cut branches. Now he's doing a science. Now here's a science. He's doing something intentional. Now I mean, listen what he does here. Jacob, however, took fresh cut branches from poplar. He took poplar trees, fresh. They had to be fresh. Almonds. That's from almonds. Don't eat the almonds. It's a science to that. Almonds take 5 years off your life. All right. He said, Jacob, however, took fresh cut branches from poplar, almond, and plane trees and made, quote, white stripes on them by peeling the bark and exposing the, quote, white inner wood of the branches. Then he placed the peeled branches in all the watering troughs. A trough is like, you can consider it like a box. Now, I mean, like a trough's like a wooden box. That's where the pigs come eat that food. Horse, like, put it like, if you, back in cowboy days, they have a wooden box. They come to the saloon, whatever, they tie that horse up. The horse could drink some water, eat an apple, whatever the case may be. That's a trough, okay? Jacob, however, took fresh cut branches from poplar, almond, and plane trees and made white stripes on them by peeling the bark and exposing the white inner wood of the branches. Then he placed the peeled branches in all the watering troughs so that they would be directly in front of the flocks when they came to drink. Now he scientifically, chemically, is putting this white sap or whatever inside the water so when the animals come drink of it, something genetically is going to happen to them. All right. When the flocks were in heat, now the animals had to be in heat. Now, I mean, now, you know, like a woman, when a woman breaks, you know, how you could look at the cow and see when she's ready to have a baby or whatever the case. He's using science here. Now, I mean, so Jacob, however, took fresh cut branches from poplar, almond, and plane trees and made white stripes on them by peeling the bark and exposing the white wood of the branches. Then he placed the peeled branches in all the watering troughs so that they would be directly in front of the flocks when they came to drink. When the flocks were in heat and came to drink, they made it in front of the branches. Now there's some type of sex. He got them sexually orientated. Now I mean, got them hyped up. Now I mean, they horny. Now I mean, and they start having sex in front of this chemical that he's taking these white. He's like, picture that. Like, imagine going out in your yard and you take an axe or a knife and you cut the tree bark off. You see the white in there. He taking that and letting that go into the water, into the trough. And when they come drink of it, something chemically is happening to them when they in heat. All right. And they bore young that were streaked or speckled or spotted. Jacob set apart. He's separating them, the black from the white. Jacob set apart the young of the flock by themselves and made the rest face the streaked and dark colored animals. and dark color. Now here he intentionally is separating the black from the white that belonged to Laban. Thus he made separate flocks for himself and did not put them with Laban's animals. Whenever the stronger females were in heat, Jacob would place the branches and the troughs in front of the animals so they would mate near the branches. But if the animals were weak, dominant recessive genes, strong genes, weak genes, all right? This is the nature of Jacob's teaching, all right? He's going to separate the weak. He would not place them there. So the weak animals went to Laban. Laban means white. The weak went to the white, all right? So the weak animals went to Laban and the strong ones to Jacob, which means Jacob. That's Genesis chapter 30. Look it up for yourself, family. Now, I know y'all think the messengers made this stuff up. So what I want to do is just, I want to give y'all some, you know, the white man's ice is cold, as they say. So we're gonna go into. I paid like $30 for this joint. This is Matthew's Henry's commentary. This volume 1. I got all of them. But all right, now let's look at what the scientists, the historians, those that study the Aramaic, the Hebrew, the Greek, the Latin, and all that kind of stuff. This is what the dictionary has to say about this here. All right. And I'm reading from page number 50 on Genesis chapter 30 again. All right. It teaches the relevant part anyway. All right. He is willing to refer to himself to the providence of God, which he knew extends itself to the smallest things, even, quote, even the color of the cattle. The color of the cattle, according to the historians and the people that is like scientists of this Bible, they knew that the color of these sheep and lamb and oxen and whatever was relevant between the black and the white. So they know the color is important to Jacob, which Jacob is the modern version of, if you was to read, if you ask a Jew, if you go to an Orthodox Jew, if those of you that know Hebrew, the Hebrew Israelites, you know, we got the Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters, they know Hebrew way better than me. They'd be like, yeah, Jacob means Jacob. I mean, all right, the supplanter. Now, I mean, we say Jacob is the one that changed and keeps on changing, all right? So, even the color of the cattle, and he will be content to have his wages. The sheep and goats of such and such a color, speckled, spotted, and, quote, brown, all right, which would hereafter be brought forth. This is verse 32 and 33. Laban, which means white, Laban was willing to consent to this bargain because he thought if the few he had that were now speckled and spotted were separated from the rest. His thing was to separate the few grafted ones, the few white ones from the black majority, the dominant gene. He thought he's going to make, see, he was really trying to trick Jacob doing some, you know, that's a whole nother thing about the women and all that. But I'm not, I just want you to understand this black and white grafting thing here right now. All right. Were now speckled and spotted, were separated from the rest, which by agreement was to be done immediately. The body of the flock which Jacob was to tend being of one color. I'm quoting the dictionary. Either all black, there we go, family. Either all black or all white. Jacob grafting black and white, Genesis chapter 30. I mean, I know y'all don't believe nothing I be telling y'all. Y'all just ignore me. But I'm the thing about it is, see, I'm confident that it might take you some time to grasp all this stuff, but it's like you're gonna be like, in the future you'd be like, damn, that bro was teaching us he was teaching the message of real teachers for real. I mean, okay. Now, being of one color, either all black or all white would produce few or none of mixed colors, and so he should have Jacob's service for nothing or next to nothing. Jacob, Bible, Genesis chapter 30. Here you have a man God, Jacob, Yaakov, grafting black and white animals. Why would you be surprised to hear Messenger Elijah Muhammad in Message to the Black Man talking about grafting of black and white people? Now, I don't want you to get too lost in this. So I'm gonna try to simplify this here. I want to take you to Matthew's chapter 19 now. All right. Now, before I do that, let me put this in context. What I'm trying to show you is when you hear the Annunaki grafting and mixing DNA with human beings, what you're really reading is like, this is an ancient teaching amongst the original people. We've been grafting on this planet for a long, long, long time. That's not a new science to black folks, okay? We have Yaakov grafting the Caucasian from the Asian over 6,600 years ago, but that's not the only science that black people was utilizing. All right, we had put it like this: DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid, and RNA, messenger DNA, if you will. We basically, in this modern day and time, we say, okay, we trace all the people on earth from the past to the original woman. We trace it to the black woman. All right. Now, it's a lot of pseudoscience with the XY chromosome, but bear with me for a minute. I'm going to simplify this. The black man is the foundation of everything. All right. The woman receives the seed. That's an effect. The cause, like the sperm of the original black man, the sperm can be X or Y. The sperm can be male or female. The woman's egg can only be double X. If the sperm cell is an X and it goes with the X egg or ovum, it produces what? A female. If the sperm is a Y and it fertilizes the X, it's what? A male. But here's something that a lot of people don't realize. There's always an exception to every law in the universe. So in the universe, on this planet, while me and you are talking, there are human beings on earth. In fact, I'm not going to be disrespectful. I'm going to just show y'all ancient statue in the museum. Basically, it's so it won't shock you. It's a Roman woman with breasts, female, but she has a penis. She's what's called a hermaphrodite. There are creatures, not just humans. I'm talking about fish. Like there are fish that are born one sex and they transform into another sex. Huh? Born a female and turn into a male. This is some crazy stuff. There are human beings on the planet who's go into what we call the exception to the law. There are hermaphrodites that have a penis, testicles, and a vagina. All right? They're human beings like any human being. No disrespect, nothing like that. I'm just talking the science here. Now, I mean, you can look up the word hermaphrodite on your own, if you will. Jesus in the Bible, in fact, let me turn to that. That's Matthew 19, I believe it is. Let me turn, because it's a hard teaching. Jesus said it's a hard thing for people to really understand because we're so spooky, in my opinion. But let's turn this for a moment here. All right. Where is that? That's okay. Matthew's chapter 19, verse 11. Red, and the red is what Jesus said. Okay, so we're gonna read the biblical version of this here. All right. Let me start at verse 10 so it be in context. The disciples said to him, "If this is the situation between a husband and wife, is it better not to marry?" Jesus replied, this is Matthew's chapter 19, verse number 11. I'm gonna read it for you. Not everyone can accept this word. Not everyone can understand this, he's saying. Like, this is hard to understand. Not everyone, this ain't for everybody. I'm going to drop a jewel on you that you're gonna have to really think about it. I don't want you to take all of the program that you had. I want you to understand science. I mean, see, when you look at the science of a thing, it's not personal. Now, I mean, like there are ducks that are gay. Think about it. Like, people like, there are no gay animals. People that say that they don't know science. Now, I mean, now, if it wasn't a science, I wouldn't even, boom. Me personally, I want you to understand, we dealing with science. So in dealing with science, we know scientifically at this time, 2 women can't produce a baby. 2 men can't produce a baby. No disrespect, but they just simply can't produce a baby. Now, when I say that, I want you to understand that at this present time, in this era we're living in an era where doctors literally are giving men estrogen injections and women testosterone injections and making them more masculine or feminine than they were naturally. Okay. So, you have women that get artificial breasts, butt implants, whatever. You have men that also do that. You have men that get surgery on their genitalia and women that get surgery on that. So I'm not trying to be disrespectful to nobody. Now, I mean, I'm not, the message teaches us judgments for a law. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm trying to get you to understand the science stuff. You know what I mean? I'm saying that without doctors and surgeons doing that, Jesus was trying to get his disciples to understand that, listen, this is hard to understand, but some babies are born like that. They're born eunuchs. Like some are made eunuchs, meaning through surgery, and you had, like, especially amongst Arabs, I mean, you had Arabs that had harems, or they might have 10 wives or whatever. And what they would do, they would take a black slave and cut his penis physically off. So they like, oh, he can't get my women pregnant or have sex with my women, at least not that way. You know what I mean? But they were made eunuchs. But without doing that, some people make themselves eunuchs. Like you had some monks that wanted to master themselves, and they wanted to, like, master their desires. So they'd be like, okay, well, one of the desires I got to overcome is lust. Now, I mean, so what they would do, they would sit down in big giant tubs of, like, oil, and they would basically pickle themselves in oil so that penis would not work. So that way they got rid of lust. You see what I'm saying? So let's look at what Jesus explained. Like, all of this is what he's going to break down in this one verse. It's Genesis chapter 19, verse 11. You're not going to hear Christian preachers talk about this, but it's in your Bible. Read it for yourself. Genesis chapter 19. Jesus replied, not everyone can accept this word, but only those to whom it has been given. For some are eunuchs because they were born that way. Others were made that way by men. Look, and others have renounced marriage because the kingdom of heaven, the one who can accept this, should accept it. Okay, so here you have the Pope in this day and time. You got the priesthood saying, okay, we're not going to get married. This was really some economic stuff. Now, I mean, you read the Bible, Peter, you know, he had sex. I mean, sex is part of our nature. I mean, it's natural for a male to be attracted to a female bitch. The opposites attract like repel. All right, that's just in nature. But there are exceptions. All right, there are exceptions in ducks. I mean, rats, mice, whatever. Know what I mean? But Jesus here is telling you, look at the prongs here. Jesus replied, not everyone can accept this word, but only those to whom it was given. For some are eunuchs because they were born that way, meaning that it's not that they had surgery. It's not that some slave master cut their sexual genitalia off. It's not that they were in Africa and the females, they cut their clitorises off and all that kind of stuff. It's a lot of stuff that happens on earth. All right. He said, for some are eunuchs because they were born that way, meaning that some are genetically programmed where, as opposed to having ovaries, they have ovaries and a penis. Let me give you a scientific fact here that doctors and scientists understand. Short version. When a baby is born, put it like this, when a baby is in his mother, say like the third trimester, say a baby is in the womb at 8 months, it doesn't have a penis or a vagina scientifically. You'd be like, oh, you're going to have a boy, you're going to have a girl. See, that comes from other variables, like when they look inside the mother's stomach. Now, I mean, they put the cold stuff on the baby and look inside. I mean, it's a science there. Now, I mean, meaning that estrogen and testosterone plays a critical part in determining the gender of that fetus. All right, if the testosterone is dominant because of the XY chromosome, the baby is going to be considered a boy or male. If estrogen is dominant, it's going to be considered a female. But the sex organ, if it's dominated by testosterone, the sex organ extends and the testes or the testicles, or what we call the balls, drop down and it becomes a male. But that same baby, if it's dominated by estrogen, the feminine, those testicles go up and form ovaries, and that penis retracts to become a clitoris. So a woman's clitoris gets hard like a man's penis. Okay, I don't want to be too vulgar here. All right, but so let's look at this and think about what Jesus is saying here. Jesus replied, not everyone can accept this word. Not everyone is ready for this kind of science. All right, but only those to whom it has been given. All right. For some are eunuchs because they were born that way. Others were made that way by men, and others have renounced marriage. So some people, like I said, they sit in a vat of oil and they make themselves eunuchs. Some get their penis cut off and they're made eunuchs. But some are born like that. Some babies are literally born like that. Just on your own, just look up the word hermaphrodite, okay? Now, we just showed you the genetic science of grafting. The white from the black can take place with animals or human beings in the time of Jacob or Jacob in your Bible, Genesis chapter 30. We just showed you Matthew chapter 19, of Jesus giving a different science. I want you to think about another science, all right? There are children, babies. In fact, I'm gonna share with y'all a picture of one so you'll get a better. In fact, I don't know how old you may be, but I remember they showed it on some talk show. I forgot which talk show it was, back like 30 years ago. It's a common known science amongst doctors. All right, they know that something happens. They really don't understand it yet, but they're learning more and more about it. But there are babies that are born with a genetic disposition where when they're 12 years old, they're physically 100 years old. This ease, I don't like the word dis-ease. I would prefer to say this condition in nature is known as progeria. All right. So you have, now in our brain, we're programmed to think like, oh, you baby, you toddler, you become a teenager, an adult, an old person, you go back into the earth. That's not always the case. See, Mother Nature has exceptions to every rule. The aging of the human body doesn't have to happen like that. Now I'm gonna give y'all a little jewel from Messenger Elijah Muhammad, and I'll say it's right. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that Master Fard Muhammad taught him that in the hereafter we would have the physical disposition, meaning we would physically look like we're 16 years old, and we would have the mental acumen of a 16-year-old, meaning that the Bible and Isaiah teaches all this. It's all in the Bible too, and if you read the Bible carefully, you'll see like there's children that will be 100 years old when they're youth. I mean, it's like genetically, we're just starting to understand. Now, they done mapped out the human genome and all that, so they going to do some real, you're going to see some real strange things happen in the future. It would not surprise me. Like, now, in this day and time, we say, they like right now, the sciences, they'll take a man and do an operation on him and turn him into a woman. They'll do an operation on a woman to turn her into a man. In appearance, at least. I mean, whether you agree or disagree, that's not the issue. But in the future, when they literally start mastering genetics, they will be able to genetically have men that give birth to physical babies. Now, men by nature have physical nipples just like women have physical nipples, because Master Fard Muhammad teaches us that originally it was only the black man on the face of the planet Earth. But in the black man was the womb of man, or the feminine principle, as we say in the Kabbalion, in the seven sacred sciences, the universal sciences, gender is in all things. All right. Now, the devil is going to do everything he can to try to stay on the face of the planet Earth. He understands that we have 7 layers of skin, melanin. Know what I mean? He understands that this carbon atom, know what I mean, it makes us people of the sun. Genetically, the sun kills the Caucasian because genetically that sun is not their friend. It literally causes mutations or cancers amongst them. So they could take and genetically alter the genes and start to say, okay, well, what we could do is our women are at zero population growth right now. Every time a white baby is born, a white adult dies. That's a serious problem because on Earth, they're the minority. With people of color, melanated people, black, brown, yellow, and red, outnumber Europeans 11-1, according to our Lessons Lost Found Miles in lesson number 2, February 20th, 1934. That mathematics basically stayed the same. It's still like that to this very day. We're still the majority. All right. So you have scientists that are in the lab trying to genetically alter that. Now, I mean, Dr. Frances Quest Welsing, I mean, in Color Confrontation, she breaks down that whole science and ISIS paper, different phenomenal works that she breaks down. Now, I mean, but my point with all of this is we see this in 2023. Imagine you was living 5,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago, where the people didn't understand the technology we had today. They would consider that magical. They would consider that, they would write about that kind of stuff as the Annunaki producing giants. Now, when you say giant, that's a relative term. I mean, if you're 4'6" and you see Michael Jordan, that's a giant to you. I mean, I visited Orlando, Florida before, and in Orlando, Florida, they got in the museum the tallest man on record is this white giant. I took pictures with me and my wife. We took pictures out there. The man is, I'm 6'1". The man is a giant to me. So we're not saying tall people or big people don't exist on Earth. There's a whole bunch. There's giants alive right now to this day. Now, I mean, there is a giant gene that exists in certain people right now. But when you are, like, say you're a military general, now, I mean, your thing is like, oh, let us take and genetically isolate and extract this giant gene and made it with nothing but giant genes and try to produce a super soldier. I mean, they want to produce a big killer. I mean, so all of these things that seem impossible today are going to be very, very, very possible in the near future. Very possible. Very, very well known in the future. Now, I mean, but when you see it, I want you to remember it's not new. It's written thousands of years ago in the Bible, the Quran, it's message to the black man, it's in the messenger teachings. Now, I mean, this is not new. I mean, it cannot change the nature of the original man or the original woman, because the Honorable Minister Farrakhan wisely put it, I think it was in his 7 speeches, he explained how the nature of a thing cannot be changed, but the characteristics can be altered. Like if you take a lion by nature is the king of the jungle. If you take a lion, she's the queen of the jungle. You know what I mean? But if you take and kidnap them and rob the lion and lioness of the knowledge of self, and you take the cub, the little baby, little lions, and separate it from the parents like they did us in slavery. You separate the children from the parents and send them to another plantation. You send a little cub to a zoo, to a circus or whatever, to a carnival, and you raise them up where they never get to hear the teachings of their father and mother. They never actually heard the militancy of a roar of the king. Now, I mean, the purr of their mommy. Now, I mean, so now there's a disconnect in that character, in that it's something missing. They don't know what's missing. Now, I mean, they don't understand that they supposed to have been fighting when they was little. Now, I mean, not fighting to kill, but learning how to rumble. They supposed to learn how to hunt And I mean, now they're being spoon-fed. They're being given bottles to suck milk. Now, I mean, they give that somebody coming to the cage and throwing some meat in there, and they don't know how to do for something. They don't know how to hunt. They don't know their true essence, their true nature. They're made other than themselves, okay? So when you see that cub and they breeded them like that for generations, for 400 years, you do that to the lions. 400 years, you do that to black men and black women. 400 years later, the message sent out says, rather, black man in America is not an example of original man. We've been used for experimental purposes. The devil had us all this time. We under that technology, all right? So, you know, if you came in a circus and you seen a grown, muscular lion, and the white man came in there and he took the lion and opened up his mouth and put his head in there. Ta-da! The lion won't bite. And the people, oh man, you see that? He'd take a whip. The same whip he used in slavery to whip black men, he whipped the lion. Get your behind over there. And the lion jump up on the stool. He put a black loop on fire. The lion to jump through the loop. Because he don't know he don't know he's the king of the jungle. The black man don't know he's God. The black woman don't know she's the goddess. They robbed us of the knowledge of self. They got us thinking that we're not kings and queens, gods and goddesses, lions and lions. They got us thinking we're pussycats. And we act like pussycats because we don't know self. But if that lion was to all of a sudden react in accordance with his nature, they want to shoot you. Ooh, kill him. Wow, he's a wild lion. That lion you got to keep in jail. That lion, put him in a cell. Put him in the hole. Put that lion, because they know that you can't go to Africa. You can't go to India and whip a tiger. You can't whip one of those lions in his natural habitat. His natural habitat, you call it the wild. It's not the wild. This is his natural habitat. This is what he do. This is who he is by nature. You see? So it's like the Wizard of Oz. The lion was a cowardly lion. He had to go see this mystery guy to get some courage. I mean, the scarecrow, he had to go get a brain to think with. Now, I mean, the Tin Man had to go get some heart from. They all looking for knowledge of self and power from this white big head mystery guy on a white screen that's being controlled by a white scientist in a white robe behind a white curtain. But the dog Toto, he barked like, yo, what is y'all spooked out your mind? He trying to wake him up. Dorothy in the Wizard of Oz, she believed that she's not too sure. She like, are you the great God of Oz? And the mystery God on the screen spoke with such authority, he scared you. Yes, I am. Oh my goodness, it's a powerful God. Now, I mean, they sound real. Now, I mean, like, yo, you be like, man, the lost Penway Tyler. Jesus Christ is coming back. The Elijah Muhammad is on the mother plane. He's coming back. I'm telling you. You know what I mean? Moses is coming back. The Messiah is coming. The Mahdi is coming. The aliens is coming. The Annunaki. You're looking for a mystery God outside of yourself, family. And the whole time, when you wake up, you're going to realize that the power, the wisdom, the force is really in you. Remember, only the messenger's message will guide you through this age of mess. The struggle continues. Salam Allah. Alif Lam Mim. I Alam, the best knower. Wake up.